Chapter 771, Driving Away with Force. Buzz. A strange swing of sound spread out in an instant as a blurry figure appeared out of thin air outside the coruscating stars array. Tang Xiu carried Bodet's head as he flashed and appeared in front of Wu Jia with a soaring killing aura. Bodet. Wu Ji was horrified. Never did he ever dream that Bodet would be killed in such a short time and that easily. Is it an array? The one that is told that Oriental ascetics are good at? Wu Jia recalled a record he had read in an ancient book and his heart suddenly twitched a few times. They came to Mist Source Island this time, and though they had prospected some mineral deposits, they had not yet carried out any mining it at all. They just planned how to plant their roots in Mist Source Island and establish a secret base for the pyramid organization here. All these had yet to be carried out, but they had suffered such a great loss already. All is lost, and the losses are too heavy. Vexed and unwilling, Wu Jia was perfectly aware of one thing: all his plans for Mist Source Island had ended up in failure. Tang Xiu saw his constant change of expression and then spoke in a deep voice. Intelligence War Elder Wu Jia, you can regard yourself to have very good luck for being able to escape and stay alive from the array I laid out. But I'll tell you something, you can be lucky for this one time only. Act as you wish again and adamantly stay on this island, then, this Mist Source Island will become your grave. Wu Ji looked at Tang Xiu with hatred, because Bodet was his closest comrade, and now he died in Tang Xiu's hands. This blood enmity was as deep as the ocean, and revenge was a must. Regardless, he was also clear that a wise man must know when to retreat when the odds were against him. One did not need to worry about running out firewood in the forested mountain, for it was never too late for a man to exact his revenge 10 years later. Give me Bodet's body, said Wu Jia in a heavy tone. Then I'll immediately take my men and leave Mist Source Island. All right. Tang Xiu quickly gave Bodet's body to Wu Jia and personally supervised as Wu Jia led his men to leave. Just when they came out of the white mist area, Tang Xiu coldly said, do remember, not even one of your pyramids are people to come to Chinese territory ever again, for we don't welcome you here. Be it coming alone or in a group, I will kill you all. Who are you, Your Excellency? Asked Wu Jia. Your status doesn't give you the qualification to know my name, Tang Xiu sneered. I may not take the initiative to fight the pyramid if you stay still in your hive, but I don't mind storming over your place with my men otherwise. We will meet again, said Wu Jia coldly. Having said that, he led the pyramid people to board a liner and soon disappeared in the horizon. Tang Xiu turned to look at Mo and ordered, take some me to clean up the people from other forces on Mist Source Island. Spare none. Kill all of them. Xinlei, cooperate with Ao and solve these troubles as fast as possible. But, Mr. Tang, isn't it a bit too crazy to kill all the other forces people on Mist Source Island? Refuted Xinlei Duomo quickly. You must know that none of these forces can be underestimated. In the case that I dare to kill them, thus I'm not afraid of their revenge. Tang Xiu raised his hand to interrupt her and said coldly, just do what I said. Xinlei Duomo fell silent for a while but still nodded. She knew that Tang Xiu was very strong and also had many cultivators under his command. But it was definitely not a wise move to be in conflict with so many foreign forces. She suddenly despised Tang Xiu at this moment. Mist Source Island, at the military compound. As Tang Xiu came back, he went to see Divine Dr. Gui Jianshou at the fastest speed. After learning that the doctor had discovered the nature of the darkening virus and was now working hard to prepare the cure, he could finally heave a sigh of relief. As a matter of fact, Tang Xiu was aware of his own abilities. His accomplishments in Chinese medicine were in no way could be compared to Gui Jianshou's. Reason being, he was able to treat so many incurable diseases was because the means he had as a cultivator. Do you need my help? Tang Xiu asked after he saw Gui Jianshou's weary face but still busy working. There's no need for the time being, Gui Jianshou shook his head. If the cure I'm preparing now can't completely solve the darkening virus until noon tomorrow, only then will I probably ask your help to think of another solution. Tang Xiu nodded. After leaving the temporary lab, he saw Yang Chuxiong rushing towards him with several officers. Division Commander Yang, I need some help from you. There was a plan Tang Xiu had brewed, so he spoke to him directly. What do you need us to do, Mr. Tang? Said Yang Chuxiong quickly. Contact the state leaders. The higher the level, the better. But I think it will be much easier if you can convey what I need to the number one leader, said Tang Xiu. Yang Chuxiong's expression changed as he asked, what do you want me to say to the number one leader? I need jades. A lot of uncarved ones, said Tang Xiu. The situation in Mist Source Island is very special, but some people can easily sneak and come here. So I'm going to lay out a very powerful array that encompasses the periphery of the entire island. Unless it is someone who knows how to enter and leave the array, outsiders will otherwise not be able to come here. Set up an array here? Yang Chuxiong was astounded. Is it like the methods employed by feng shui masters in the olden times? You can lay out the likes of invisibility art? I do have some knowledge on it, Tang Xiu nodded. Obtaining jades is, in fact, very easy. Yang Chuxiong hesitated and said, as long as those at the top approve it, I'm sure it will be sent over quickly. It's just, will it create other troubles after you set up the array? Although Mist Source Island has few exchanges with the outside world, it's not completely isolated either. So in case that. I understand what you're thinking, Tang Xiu interrupted him. I also have a very good suggestion. The state wants to seal off the news that Mist Source Island exists, hence the barricade for the entire island. Thus, I have a suggestion to set up an entrance and exit in 2 places on the island just like the security checks at the airport. We can specially set up a department, and only the people of this department can open the passage and provide access service. The more Yang Chuxiong listened to Tang Xiu, the brighter his eyes became. Eventually, he could not bear himself to slam the table and shouted praise. If it could be set up just like Tang Xiu said, there would be no longer wariness and concern about foreign forces infiltrating Mist Source Island in the future. One would have to register to enter Mist Source Island and also re-register to check out. It would establish a perfect traffic order, controlling the flow of people coming in and out of the island. The most important thing was that once this method was completed, the country would be truly in control of Mist Source Island. Yang Chuxiong excitedly rubbed his hands and suddenly asked, what exactly is the actual effect of this invisibility method you're going to set up? Can it also attack the enemies? I watched the Yang family TV series where they have the Heavenly Gate array. It's very powerful. Tang Xiu's expression turned strange and replied, there are indeed some arrays that can attack enemies, but the array I want to set up is mainly for defending. But setting it up the array to have that feature is not impossible though. However, the number of jades used will probably increase greatly, though. Yang Chuxiong clapped and loudly said, you don't need to worry about the jades. As long as it has an attacking effect, we don't need to worry we'll be attacked by those foreign forces even if they come here. They won't be able to infiltrate and even more impossible to attack us. Only at this degree can we call it impregnable. Tang Xiu was actually laughing inside. The very reason why he proposed to set up a feng shui great array and asked for jades was actually out of his selfishness. He needed a massive number of jades, and buying it with his own money was inefficient, hence the need for this minor trick. But if the country could contribute to his endeavor, the number of jades it could provide would definitely much more than he could spend. What some people embezzled were money and wealth, but for him was jade. Precisely speaking, it was not actually embezzlement per se, as he counted it as his reward after the service. After all, he still had to expend great effort and energy to lay out this feng shui great array, to begin with. Seeing that Yang Chuxiong was about to leave, Tang Xiu quickly stopped him and said, Mr. Yang, can we have a private talk? I need to report something to you about something I did on Mist Source Island. Yang Chuxiong blanked for a moment. He immediately ordered the other officers around him to leave and curiously asked, "What did you do, Mr. Tang?" "Principally, it's two different matters. The first one is that I have completely solved all those forces who infiltrated Mist Source Island. Other than a group of people from the pyramid who lost some of their men and were driven away by me, I've killed all the rest." Hiss. Despite Yang Chukshinig having fought in many battles in the past and also having killed many people with his own hands, he still could not bear to draw a cold breath upon hearing Tang Xiu. One must know that the number of people from all those foreign forces was quite large. All added up were at least 800 to 1,000 people. This Tang Xiu is really ruthless and merciless to the extreme. Tang Xiu spoke again. "Also, I met some mobs on Mist Source Island. During this virus outbreak, they were threatening civilians and some even gone so far as to kill civilians in cold blood after torturing them. Hence I ordered my men to kill some of them who lost their humanity. But we handled their bodies well, leaving no trace." Yang Chukshin nodded after hearing this, and said, "That is under your jurisdiction and you have the authority for that. There's nothing wrong. We are facing a crisis this time, and yet these people break the laws and commit crimes. I will also drag them to justice if they bump into me." "All right, now I feel relieved since you can understand it, Division Commander Yang," said Tang Xiu. Right. I will also take my men to stroll around, so I won't stay in the base. Just contact me directly if there are any developments or news in regards to the matter of setting up the array and the jades needed." "No problem," Yang Chuxiong quickly answered. Just as Tang Xiu was about to leave, he suddenly turned around and said, "Anyhow, there's something else I need to tell you, Division Commander Yang. When we dealt with those foreign forces, we found that the Qingyuan group's boss, Miao Hengfu, had a clash with the Stygian Club's people, and he and many of his men were killed by them." Yang Chuxiong was taken aback and immediately forced out a bitter smile. "That means trouble." "Huh?" Tang Xiu was surprised. "What trouble, exactly? Isn't he just a businessman, a company owner? How come he can make you feel troubled as the garrison commander here?" Chapter 772, An Idiot Father-in-Law. Yang Chuxiong looked around. After he found that nobody was nearby, he said bitterly, "You should not have known. This Miao Hengfu has a patron behind his back, someone from the Mu family of Beijing. This man surely will never let this matter go now that Miao Hengfu has been killed. This is just, arg." Tang Xiu intentionally asked, "I have a relationship with someone from the Mu family, might you tell me who that man is?" "He's Mu Jianhua," whispered Yang Chuxiong. "You mean, the backer behind Miao Hengfu is Mu Jianhua?" asked Tang Xiu, looking surprised. "Yeah, though Mu Jianhua is famous trash, good-for-nothing idiot, he still has the blood of the Mu family after all. His father is the current head of the Muse, and it would be pretty troublesome if he got upset." "An idiot?" Tang Xiu's mouth twitched a bit and then said with a helpless expression, "I need to be frank with you, Division Commander Yang. That idiot you just mentioned is actually my future father-in-law." "Your, what?" Yang Chuxiong was utterly dumbfounded. "Yeah, my girlfriend is Mu Weining and Mu Jianhua is her father, so that idiot you told me about is my future father-in-law," confirmed Tang Xiu. Cough. Cough. Yang Chuxiong coughed twice, looking awkward and embarrassed. He suddenly wished the floor could have a hole he could burrow himself into. Though he did feel that Mu Jianhua was a disgrace, he had some admiration for Tang Xiu, while he just actually cursed his father-in-law right before him. This was really shameful. "All right, you didn't know, so I don't blame you, Division Commander Yang. You don't have to worry about that." Tang Xiu just let out a smile and said, "Besides, Mu Jianhua is himself, whereas my girlfriend is who she is. Well, let's cut this topic off, then. Since the one behind the Qingyuan group can be said as someone close to me, then I'll help clean up this mess." Yang Chuxiong let out a dry, hollow chuckle before he quickly said, "What exactly do you want to do, Mr. Tang?" The Qingyuan Group does have some businesses on the surface, but they also have some dirty ones in the back. If it wasn't for the Mu family's support behind them, we could have taken down Miao Hengfu's operation already. Tang Xiu perfectly understood Yang Chuxiong's meaning and slightly smiled. Then he nodded and said, "I understand. You can rest assured about that, Division Commander Yang. The future Qingyuan Group will not have anything to do with any unclean business anymore. Anyways, I still have to tend to something, so I'll take my leave." Qingyuan Group. When Tang Xiu came to the company with Jin Shi and Shui Shan, he was stopped by several security guards before he entered the front door of the company. Even then the security guards were very rude. "This is my ID." Tang Xiu took out the green book and watched as the security guards had their complexions drastically changing and having their attitudes turn 180 degrees toward him. He then immediately hummed coldly and said, "You are not to speak anything about my identity. Back to your job." With that said, he waltzed inside. After passing through the building's front entrance, Tang Xiu found two young female receptionists fiddling with their mobile phones at the lobby, while several young men and women were gathered having a chat. It's odd. No one here has any device that produces static electricity, Jin Shi, who was walking alongside Tang Xiu, couldn't help but comment. Tang Xiu also frowned. He then toured the lobby and said, "I'm someone from the government. I'll have to trouble you to call the senior executives of the Qingyuan Group here in half an hour tops." The two lady receptionists observed Tang Xiu and his men for some time before one of them immediately shook her head and said with a beautiful smile, "Please don't pull a prank on us, sir. We would have already received the news should there be any inspection from the government. Also, our boss is not here currently. You might have to wait for some time for him to come back." Tang Xiu then spoke in a heavy tone, "Contact all the senior executives of your Qingyuan Group to gather in the meeting room here, except for your boss, of course. This is my ID, obstruct my work and you shall be prosecuted as acting against the law." The two female receptionists looked at the green book, but neither of them knew what it meant. After some hesitation, the woman said, "We have no authority to do that, sir. How about calling Vice Li, the vice president of the Qingyuan Group? Would you like to speak to him first?" "Fine." Tang Xiu nodded. A few minutes later, a middle-aged man in his 40s came to the lobby along with two young men. After he observed Tang Xiu trio for some time, he said, "Hello, I'm Li Hemming, the vice president of the Qingyuan Group. And you are?" After showing his proof of authority, Tang Xiu spoke in a deep tone, "Given your position as the vice president of the company, you should know what it means being represented by this document. Now, I command you to contact all senior executives of the Qingyuan Group at once to convene in the meeting room. As for your boss, I won't wait for him." Li Hemming looked a bit pale. He had never seen this green book before, but he had heard what it represented by the words written on its cover. He quickly nodded and walked to the side. The first one he called was his big boss, Miao Hengfu, but much to his headache, the big boss did not even answer him at all. On the third floor, in the meeting room. In just half an hour, nearly all the related people had arrived other than Miao Hengfu, the owner of the Qingyuan Group. More than 20 people were now sitting on both sides of the conference table, each wearing an indifferent look as they saw the person who sat on the chair that was usually reserved for the big boss, and whispering to each other. "Have all of them arrived, Li Hemming?" The time had come, and Tang Xiu immediately asked. "All have arrived," replied Li Hemming. Tang Xiu gave a slight nod in response. His sharp eyes swept the faces of more than 20 people here and then said in a deep and heavy voice, "I'm going to announce something. Your boss, the owner of the Qingyuan Group, Miao Hengfu, has died along with his son, Miao Wenlei, while dozens of your security guards have been killed after a clash with some foreign forces. I already investigated Miao Hengfu's relatives. he has no one else but his son and his old parents. It's obvious that his parents are no longer suitable to manage the Qingyuan Group's business, so now all of you are facing two options. The first one is for you to leave the company and seek another career elsewhere. Also, you had better find some stockbroker to trade Miao Hengfu's shares into cash to be inherited by his parents. Li Heming was dumbfounded, and so were the rest of more than 20 senior executives of the Qingyuan Group. Tongue-tied and dumbfounded, they looked at Tang Xiu with disbelief in their faces. The big boss died? The news was as though a blasting thunderclap in their ears, leaving them at a loss for some time. Only after a long while did Li Heming finally spoke with shivering lips and low voice, "Mr. Tang, our boss owned the entire Qingyuan Group. 100% of the shares belonged to him." Tang Xiu had already assigned someone to investigate this matter before he came to the Qingyuan Group, so he naturally knew about the situation. While observing everyone's shocked faces, he said, "Since Miao Hengfu has died and his parents are not suitable to manage the Qingyuan Group, then I will decide this matter. I'll give a sum of money to Miao Hengfu's parents and resettle them back under the country care, letting them enjoy their remaining happy years. As for the Qingyuan Group, the country will take a part of the shares, which would be 51%, while senior executives, yourselves, will receive 1% each except for Li Heming. The remaining 25% will then be left to investors." After that, Tang Xiu asked in a deep voice, "Is there any opinions?" Li Heming's pupils contracted and a glint flashed in his eyes. How could he not see that Tang Xiu was using his position as a representative of the country to take over Miao Hengfu's business? Upon seeing the excitement of the other senior executives of the company who got 1% of the shares, Li Heming nervously looked at Tang Xiu and said, "Mr. Tang, what about me? All of them amount to 22 people, hence 22% of the shares in total, while you will get 3%. But you will be working as the general manager of the Qingyuan Group henceforth. As for your annual salary, it will still be the same," Tang Xiu elaborated. 3%? Nearly 100 million yuan? Li Heming felt happy inwardly and nodded, "I'm fine with it." Tang Xiu nodded in satisfaction. Then he took out a communicator and dialed Mu Weining's number in front of everyone, and then turned the speaker on. "Hello, Tang Xiu." Mu Weining's voice came from the communicator, and everyone in the meeting room could clearly hear her voice. "Weining, how much money can you get from your company now? I mean, how much liquid funds you can take without affecting the normal operations of your company?" asked Tang Xiu. Mu Weining hesitated for a moment and then answered, "The clients you introduced to me last time have made the company expand by more than 10 times, and with considerable income as well. I just checked out the financial situation a couple of days ago, and I think it won't be a problem to take up to 250 million yuan. 250 million it is, then," said Tang Xiu. "Anyways, I'm going to offer you another business. You should know about the Qingyuan Group in Mist Source Island, right? Your father, Mu Jianhua, is deeply related to Miao Hengfu, the owner of the Qingyuan Group. Now that he died with his son, you will spend 250 million yuan to buy 25% of the company shares." "What did you say? Miao Hengfu is dead?" Mu Weining asked. "That's right. He has died. And now I'm here acting on behalf of the government to solve some issues here," said Tang Xiu. "Then, about my dad," said Mu Weining quickly. "I won't deal with your father," Tang Xiu interrupted her. "The one who can manage him is you. You have to come to Mist Source Island personally later. The vice president of the Qingyuan Group, Li Heming, as well as the officials on Mist Source Island, will fully cooperate with you to carry out the equity changes. About this." "Okay." Tang Xiu hung up and looked at the shocked faces of the top executives of the Qingyuan Group. Then, he spoke, "I believe I don't need to tell you anything as you should know who Mu Weining is. Miao Hengfu is dead, but not the Qingyuan Group itself. I hope you keep this issue confidential before the equity changes and the transfer have been finished. Even after those are over, you should still keep my warning in your mind. Else, I will take back what I've given you and even make you pay more. We understand. The top executives of the company had a change in expression and successively solemnly nodded. Chapter 773, Severe Punishment in Troubled Times. Tang Xiu decided to leave after addressing the issue with the Qingyuan group. The Chinese leaders asked him to come to Mist Source with a clear purpose, that was, solving the problem with the darkening virus and to maintain the order and safety of the island's inhabitants. Of these two problems, Divine Dr. Gui Jianshou was now dealing with one and he did not need to concern about it much. He also had nearly solved the second problem. The following issue he had to carry out was to maintain order, security, and safety of the Mist Source Island's people, and deal with whoever took advantage to make things more chaotic and fishing in troubled waters. The most important thing he had to do under such a desperate situation was to deal with the criminals causing riots. The police system on Mist Source Island could be said to have been practically paralyzed. The police force had been infected by the darkening virus, so how would they still have time to worry about the civilians' safety? Hence, he could not count on them in any way. Boss, I always felt like something was a bit odd here. At the entrance of the Qingyuan Group's building, Jin Shi frowned and spoke to Tang Xiu, who just sat in the car. What is it, exactly? Asked Tang Xiu. We spent 2 hours and 45 minutes ever since we entered the Qingyuan Group until we left, and a full 2 hours were particularly spent inside the meeting room. We are cultivators, so we are free from being infected by the darkening virus since we can use our true essence to block the virus. But from what I've seen, all those top executives of the Qingyuan Group clearly have signs of being infected, but none of them were using any electrostatic generator device to suppress the virus inside their bodies. That's precisely what feels amiss. After hearing this, Tang Xiu's expression suddenly changed. He did overlook this issue a while ago and did not expect that Jin Shi was able to notice it. After blaming his own neglect inwardly, he immediately said, "Immediately call Li Hemming and tell him to come here." Got it, Jin Shi replied. A few minutes later, Li Hemming rushed over. When he saw the license plate on the car Tang Xiu was in, a glint flashed in his eyes. The letter and numbers were written in black color and started with a red-colored character, a typical military plate. As Li Hemming's gaze fell on Tang Xiu behind the window, he made his posture even lower as he came before the window and respectfully said, "Do you have any instructions for me, Mr. Tang? Did something particular happen with the Qingyuan Group?" Tang Xiu asked, "It's very obvious that all of you have been infected by the darkening virus, but how come none of you are using electrostatic producing devices to suppress it? The company has installed an electrostatic discharger inside since the boss Miao Hengfu ordered us to buy it from a group of foreign forces. This electric discharger can cover the entire building, so all the employees inside don't need any other electrostatic producing devices," said Li Hemming quickly. An electrostatic discharger? Tang Xiu's spirit shook since he did not expect that there was such an object nowadays. After thinking about it for a while, he immediately asked, "What's the maximum area that can be covered by this electrostatic discharger, exactly? I mean, can you cover the entire Mist Source Island with it?" I also asked about this to Miao Hengfu before. The electrostatic discharger that's being used by our Qingyuan Group should be the most powerful one in the line, but it can only cover a few kilometers in diameter. This electrostatic discharger was an object of little value in the past, since not only is it not useful to humans, but instead brings harm to the human body. Tang Xiu nodded without a word as he could tell that Li Hemming should be saying the truth. He thought about the issue for a while and then slowly asked, "Can you still buy this electronic discharger?" "I don't know." Li Hemming shook his head. It was Miao Hengfu who bought it, and it seemingly cost him quite a bit. Regardless, though, I know the origin of the seller. They come from the Commonwealth of Micronesia. Tang Xiu could only nod helplessly. He knew this group of people. How would he be able to buy such an electrostatic discharger from them since they had been completely decimated by the Stygian club? He fell into thought for a while and recalled that divine Dr. Gui Jianzhou told him that the results of the antivirus he was developing could only be seen by midday tomorrow. After remembering this, Tang Xiu then suppressed his idea to buy a massive number of electrostatic dischargers. Anyways, is there a relatively clean place in the company? I want to assign some people to stay here. Li Hemming asked back, may I ask how many people precisely, Mr. Tang? After pondering about it, Tang Xiu eventually shook his head and said, forget it, then. In any case, the research for the cure of the darkening virus should be finished by tomorrow, so I don't need to trouble myself with it. He originally planned to tell Tang Han to bring her confidants here. But he eventually gave up the idea since he did not want any outsiders to find out that he and Tang Han were related. The Qingyuan group itself had many people, and it would be very easy to have their relationship exposed to the outside. Tang Manor Marital School. Tang Xiu headed directly there after leaving the Qingyuan group, while Mo Ao and the rest then rushed to catch up to inform him that they had exterminated the remnants of those foreign forces. This place has turned tranquil now, boss. Mo Ao spoke in a relaxed voice as he looked at Tang Xiu, who was smoking on the sofa. What you meant by peaceful should be because you just removed all those foreign forces, no, refuted Tang Xiu indifferently. The fact is, we are still far from achieving true peace here. The darkening virus has infected all inhabitants on Mist Source Island, creating chaos and panic. Some unscrupulous people who already harbored evil intentions will be fanning the flames of chaos to destroy order right in this period of time. Also, even though the darkening virus is being temporarily suppressed, people will still be jittery and panicky as long as it isn't fully solved. The longer the delay, the more likely it will bring disorder and chaos. Mo Ao scrunched up and said, you mean? The 12 people in our team shall be divided into 6 groups, 4 of which are to rush to the 4 big cities, Python, Wolfpack, Twin Brooks, and Mixed Summit City, in order to maintain the order among the civilians. You are to execute and kill anyone who harbors evil intention or commits something extreme. The other 2 groups will need to work hard as they will have to scour all the villages in the entire Mist Source Island. Orders received. Mo Ao's reply was very simple as always. Tang Han hurriedly interjected, I and my people will join you, brother. Besides, we are very familiar with Mist Source Island, to begin with, so we can help you in action. No problem, Tang Xiu said with a smile. All of you are not under the threat of the darkening virus now, so it won't be a big problem for you to help us. Regardless, I want you to disguise your appearance, though, so as to avoid you be recognized as someone from the Tang Manor Martial School. How should I disguise myself? Asked Tang Han. Don't worry about that. I have my ways, said Tang Xiu with a smile. Changing appearance and putting up a disguise was but an easy task to Mo Ao and the others. They used to practice abroad in the past and had long used these methods to perfection. The stability and order on Mist Source Island, particularly its major cities, were indeed very bad right now. Despite the initial small-scale unrest and riots, the police were still able to suppress it with an iron fist, and yet, there were still many people who harbored evil intentions and were preparing to destroy the state. Some people with extreme personality were even sharpening tools and weapons, and brandishing their weapons at others once they could not cope with the consequences of facing death due to the virus infection. As of now, there had yet to occur a large-scale riot, but chaotic scenes could be seen happening in many neighborhoods. Twin Brooks City. In a certain district, dozens of young men with knives and sticks in their hands smashed Huiman's supermarket's door and stormed inside. Although the supermarket cashier did not have much cash, the supermarket itself was full of goods and was worth a lot of money. These people then frantically went insane and seemed to be seeking expensive things, stuffing them into their pockets and bags. All of you, stop. A middle-aged woman with a mobile phone shouted from the second floor. There was anger and panic on her face as she was afraid to go downstairs. The dozens of young men ignored her and kept looting outrageously, scrambling everything they could touch and messing up the first floor of the supermarket. About 4+ minutes later, 5 men with sticks rushed in from the outside, led by a furious middle-aged man who slashed his knife toward a youth who ran outside after loading himself with goods. Another chopped down and directly stabbed the neck of another youth who was caught unprepared. "Put them down. I'll kill whoever dares to rob my supermarket." The middle-aged man wiped off the splashing blood on his face and loudly shouted. In a flash, dozens of young men who were looting the supermarket stopped moving and turned quiet. But after 5+ seconds, a youth roared, "Who the fuck is afraid? There are just 5 of them and we are dozens. Kill them and we can grab all the goods in this supermarket and move them to our homes." "Yeah, kill them." A chaotic fight broke out shortly after. The middle-aged man and his 4 comrades were chased out of the supermarket, all scarred and battered. One of them, who was gravely injured, eventually collapsed at the supermarket entrance, ganged up and beaten to death. Screech. An off-road car stopped nearby and 2 robust middle-aged men jumped out of it, dashing toward and clashing with them head-on. His berserk strikes and valiant combat prowess had already killed 4 men before the mob reacted. "Kill these fucking bastards." The dozens of youths realized that these 2 men were sharp and powerful as they roared to bolster up their courage, raised up their weapons and stormed over toward them. Puff. 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 What was a tiger storming a flock of sheep like? It was exactly this scene in front as the 2 middle-aged men grabbed the machetes on the ground and hacked at the youths, as though they were just like cutting melons. With extreme speed and strength, only less than 10 youths were still alive after several breaths from the previously dozens strong. Devil. Run. Run. The rest of the youths had already lost their wits out of fear, no longer having any energy to stake their lives. They threw away their weapons as well as the supermarket goods and began running away like hell. However, their speed was too slow as the 2 middle-aged men eventually caught up with them and killed them all without a shred of mercy. Are they still human? From the corner of the street more than 100 meters away from Huiman's supermarket, the 4 middle-aged men who got hacked and injured were staring at the scene in front with stunned and dumbfounded expressions. Those were tens of strong and robust young men. And yet, all of them had been completely slaughtered so fast and easily? Chapter 774, Way of the Heroes. It might have been tumultuous outside, yet some people still went out and passed by. The 4 middle-aged men in the street corner were not the only onlookers who watched the slaughter scene, so were the others who hid and also watched the one-sided massacre in horror. It was currently an era of peace and Mist Source Island rarely had a homicide case. Yet currently, an unimaginable massacre where dozens of people were being killed was occurring. But suddenly, one of the 2 killers stood proudly in front of the Huiman supermarket. His eyes glanced at the onlookers in the distance and he shouted in a heavy tone, "They deserve to die for committing crimes against public safety." The Mist Source Island is under the threat of the darkening virus, yet some people are deliberately creating chaos with their arsons, killings, and lootings. Such people must pay a grievous price. Neither the government nor the police has the ability to deal with the virus as they are too busy with other matters. In any case, we will become both the law enforcer and the judge on their behalf. Thus, we'll punish those who commit crimes against public safety. Vigilantes replacing the government? The frightened onlookers were instantly in astonishment. They perfectly realized that public order was currently at its lowest point since members of the police force were infected by the virus and were unable to maintain the peace. The public law and order was something that directly affected the common people like themselves. Suddenly, everyone's hearts started calming down and those who were about to flee decided against it. Those who had the ability to fight were quietly approaching from every direction to look at 2 godlike heroes. Exactly. In their mind, they all called these 2 men heroes. The tall and burly man who stood in front of the Huimin supermarket looked around. He could see that the spectators had a change in their expressions. He then continued speaking with a clear voice. Divine Dr. Gui Jianzhou has come from the mainland. He is putting his all into researching the antidote for the darkening virus. We are hopeful that a good result will appear from his work by tomorrow or in a few days, so I hope everyone can pass this message along and that we can overcome this virus outbreak as soon as possible. Having said that, he beckoned to the 4 middle-aged men and loudly asked, "How are your bodies? Ask these friends around if you have any shallow injuries and help with disposing the dead bodies. Remember to move the bodies to the crematorium to prevent further breakout of the virus. We're all right." The 4 middle-aged men were all scarred and bruised, and even one of them was in a serious condition, but they persevered enough to support themselves and walked step by step. It was needless to say, but they knew that the emergence of these 2 men had saved their lives. They were their savior. "All right. We'll go first since we need to inspect other areas as well." The 2 burly men cupped their fists and quickly returned to the car, started it, and sped away. Python City. Wu Li dragged her tired body, carrying food she had just purchased from the supermarket. She crept along the path toward her house that was about a few hundred meters away. She was also infected by the darkening virus and was in a very serious state. Even though the static electricity curbed the spreading of darkening virus, it was still tormenting her day and night, sapping the strength from her body. She was a single parent, a mother of a 6-year-old daughter. Although she had a decently paid job and was able to hire a nanny, the nanny had left, leaving only herself to take care of her daughter. "Bah, we've got something hot here." 2 drunkards dressed in suits and with neatly combed hair appeared. Their appearance looked like they should be executives of a company, if not owners of companies, yet their laugh, obscenity, and dirty thoughts revealed their true selves when they saw the pretty Wu Li. "What are you doing?" Wu Li's expression quickly changed as the 2 men blocked her path. She had heard that the entirety of Python City had fallen into chaos recently, even hearing that there had been many murders. One of the men touched his chin, grinning as he plunged toward Wu Li, grabbing her and forcing himself on her to kiss her. Slap. Although Wu Li didn't have much strength left and she was unable to follow the man's speed, it didn't take much effort for her to slap the man. Unfortunately, she had no power to get rid of the man's arm with her limited strength. "You dare slap me, fucking bitch." The man released Wu Li and punched her in the face, sending her to slump on the ground, yet he continued to kick and punch. "Old Joe, don't break her. We, brothers, still need to have this meet to vent up our urge today." The other man stopped him and forcefully dragged Wu Li up. Wu Li shouted for help, enduring the pain all over her body. There were many people who passed by her, at least a dozen of them within a radius of 200 meters, yet nobody came to help her. All of them just minded their own businesses, showing their indifferent attitude. Creak. A car stopped and parked nearby. A burly man dashed out and directly stabbed the 2 men's hearts. Ah! The sudden turn of events shocked Wu Li and made her fearful. She staggered backward and slumped down on the cold concrete pavement. The big man coldly shouted, "The law enforcers are unable to maintain the law and order, so I will be one to enact justice and punishment. Those who dare harm public safety, committing arsons, murders, and other fucking evil things will be killed with no mercy. Whoever dares to create panic, break the laws, and hinder us will be mercilessly suppressed and executed." Divine Dr. Gui Jianzhou is now devoting all of his efforts to study the antivirus for the infectious disease. You can expect his successful report in the next few days. Pass this message on to the others, and I hope you all can abide by the law until then. Wait for the antidote that will be delivered to your door. After saying that, the big man strode up to the flustered and panicked Wu Li. He extended his hand and pulled her up, saying, "Go home quickly. Wait for the antidote to be sent to your home so that you can resume your normal life." "Thank you. Thank you." A look of gratitude appeared on Wu Li's face, followed by constant thanks coming from her mouth. The burly man let out a simple smile. This is what we should do to keep social stability and maintain the law and order. It's the responsibility for each and every one of us. The big man quickly went back to his car and left. Wolfpack City, Mixed Summit City. Similar events also happened in both cities, where those who broke the law had been killed mercilessly and faced bloody repression. The news of these swift acts and the deeds of the heroes spread to the 4 major cities through word of mouth. This scared and deterred those who were committing crimes, causing none to dare act rashly for now. In addition, the news spread that the divine Dr. Gui Jianzhou would soon see the results of his research into the antidote, and that antidote would be quickly proliferated and distributed to the millions of people in the 4 major cities. People seemed to see hope on the horizon, only wishing that the divine doctor's research proceeded smoothly and he developed the antidote. Mist Source Island. In the center of the southern side of the island was a village with a population of around 1,000 to 2,000 inhabitants. Here, Tang Xiu personally killed a large number of tyrannical people whose hands were stained by the blood of innocents. He then announced the news that divine Dr. Gui Jianzhou was currently researching the antidote for the darkening virus and good results would soon come. The inhabitants were instantly grateful to Tang Xiu and had hope. In the midst of their grateful remarks, the old village chief personally invited Tang Xiu and Tang Han to his house. After the sumptuous dinner, the old village chief accompanied Tang Xiu to drink his personally made wine. Tang Xiu was about to leave as soon as possible to inspect other places, yet he still drank a lot. Ring, ring, ring. His communicator buzzed, dragging Tang Xiu back from his tipsiness. He took the mobile and saw that it was a call from Gu Xiaoxue. He immediately put the call through and asked, "You've arrived, Xiaoxue? We just entered Mist Source Island, Grand Master." Gu Xiaoxue's sweet voice came out from the communicator. "Where are you now? We'll immediately catch up with you. Go straight to the big mountain in the center of the island," said Tang Xiu. "I'm in the village on the southern side of the mountain, and do contact me again once you're here." Understood. After hanging up the phone, Tang Xiu immediately cancelled his plan to go to the other areas. Since Gu Xiaoxue's team had arrived, he must lead them to traverse the central area of the mountain. It must be noted that there were a lot of efficacious medicinal materials, spirit fruits, and precious ores inside that mountain. All of these were the everlasting feast hall's scarcest resources for cultivation at the present. The evening came and the stars hung in the night sky. Cool breezes were blowing gently, creating a cooling sensation. Tang Xiu stood on a large blue stone in the outskirts of the village, looking up at the vast starry sky. It had been a year since he returned to Earth, where he had experienced a lot of things. He should be very satisfied, for he had family members, friends, a career, and women. He had even found the one he cared for the most, Gu Yan. However, at this moment, he felt somewhat at a loss. He missed the days when he lived in the immortal world. Fond memories made him miss some of his best friends, and also, those few, precious good friends, those of whom he wanted to stand before and hack them with his sword. "I'll be benevolent to those who are good to me, and I'll be evil to those who do evil deeds to me. When I, Tang Xiu, set my feet on the fertile land of the immortal world once again, I will unfold the foul wind and rain of blood. Those who are against me will perish, and those who follow me will prosper. No one has ever succeeded to rule and reign in the immortal world for eons. But as for me, I will dominate it. I will stand as the hegemon above myriads of races, for I will break and push the threshold of the gate of the immortal world." Tang Xiu clenched his fists as his aura blasted out of his body, punching his fist into the void. Layers of qi created turbulence in the air, creating ripples that spread distantly in all directions. Kilometers away from him, a dozen cars quickly approached with Gu Xiaoxue sitting inside the front car. She could clearly see Tang Xiu, who stood tall on the tree. His figure was seemingly thin, yet he looked very stalwart at this moment. That handsome look and the charms that he exuded made her heart a complete mess. His surging, imposing aura brought infinite grandeur as if he was the sovereign of the world. Badump, badump. Gu Xiaoshue's heart suddenly accelerated and remained at a racing pace. The sensation that engulfed her was something that she could not clearly explain nor understand. Chapter 775, Plundering Resources. The clear and cool breeze blew gently while the shadows of trees danced amidst the wind. Tang Xiu was keenly aware that some cars were approaching. He floated down and walked step by step on the ground. Several cars stopped in front of him and he watched dozens of people get out before his eyes fell on the angel-like Gu Xiaoxue, in her white dress. "It's been tough on you." Tang Xiu gently nodded at her with a smile on his handsome face. Gu Xiaoshue's remarkable glowing eyes were fixated on Tang Xiu's smiling face as she affectionately replied, "It's not been that tough, Grand Master. It's you who has been working hard instead." "All right. How was the situation with Yen before you came here?" asked Tang Xiu with a smile. "Any words she wants to pass on to me?"
"Yeah.
Master did want me to convey her regards to you, Grand Master," said Gu Xiaoxue. "Also, for the time being, she is only able to leave the Everlasting Feast Hall for 2 days at the most. She is waiting for you to take her out for a walk once you visit Jingmen Island." "She can get out for 2 days?" Tang Xiu smilingly replied, "I see. Anyways, are we going to the mountain now that you mentioned, or should we wait before we go?" Gu Xiaoxue asked. Watching the dozens of people who stood respectfully behind Gu Xiaoxue who did not look weary but instead seemed full of energy, Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and then said, "Have some rest for a while. I'll take you to the mountain early in the morning. Also, this mountain is rather special as it's entirely covered by arrays. Without my guidance, hiking up there will be very difficult for you all." "All right. We'll follow your arrangements, Grand Master," Gu Xiaoxue nodded. Once evening came, Tang Xiu took his men to enter the village. As some houses were occupied by the foreign forces before, no one occupied them at this time, thus there was no issue with their accommodation. However, right as everyone settled down, Tang Han came using the advantage of the cover of the night. "Who are they, brother?" There was a puzzled look on Tang Han's face when she saw Gu Xiaoxue and the Everlasting Feast Hall's people. "I'll introduce you to them, sis." Tang Xiu smilingly said, "This is Gu Xiaoxue, my grand disciple. The rest are the Everlasting Feast Hall's people who are also my subordinates. You can treat them as our own people who you can trust to guard your back." The Everlasting Feast Hall and a grand disciple? There was an incredulous expression on Tang Han's face as she looked at the stunningly beautiful Gu Xiaoxue. She knew that the Everlasting Feast Hall was based in Jingmen Island and was well off. Yet, this younger cousin of hers was just 21-year-old, how did he have a grand disciple already? Also, judging from the appearance of this girl, she should be a few years younger than her, right? Gu Xiaoxue didn't know about Tang Han's identity, but hearing Tang Xiu call her older sister, she immediately said with respect, "Hello, Grand Martial Aunt. I'm Gu Xiaoxue." Grand Martial Aunt? Tang Han was at a loss whether to laugh or cry and felt absurd and ridiculous for a while. She hesitated and then hastily said, "Gu Xiaoxue. Can you not address me with Grand Martial Aunt? Besides, I should be just a few years older than you are. If you don't mind, just call me sister, or call me Sister Han. Though I don't know why you address Tang Xiu as Grand Master, we are people who live in a modern age with different ideas about things, right?" About this, Gu Xiaoxue was dumbfounded. Never did it occur to her that Tang Han would utter such words. She made a subconscious quick glance at Tang Xiu with a confused look on her face. Tang Xiu didn't care about title trivialities himself, so he waved and said, "Have it your way in addressing each other." Tang Han pulled Gu Xiaoshue's hand and smilingly said, "All right. You heard him, right?" Tang Xiu doesn't mind it, so just call me either Big Sis or Sis Han. You calling me Grand Marshal Aunt kinda sounds like I'm an ancient fossil. This? Alright. Hello Sis Han. Gu Xiaoxue finally surrendered and addressed her as requested. With a satisfied smile, Tang Han said, alright, since we are all together, discard all the formalities, okay? Though there's a bit I don't get. Why did you address Tang Xiu as your Grand Master? It's because he's my master's master, replied Gu Xiaoxue. Your master's master? Then your master is, Tang Han's face looked unnatural. My master is Gu Yan. She brought me up since childhood, but master is Grand Master's disciple, so I naturally must address him as Grand Master. The idea made Tang Han feel dizzy. She felt like she was not on the same page as Gu Xiaoxue, nor was she able to figure out anything. She immediately shifted to Tang Xiu and said, Hey, brother, explain to me what's the situation here? Yan is my disciple and Xiaoxue is her disciple. Hence, Xiaoxue addressing me as Grand Master is naturally correct, explained Tang Xiu. Besides, I also have several other disciples, one of whom is even much older. Do you know the Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical, by chance? I know that company. It's a big pharmaceutical company in our country, replied Tang Han immediately. Its boss, Chen Zhizhong, is a very capable man. I know about some notable people since I have been to the mainland a few times. Tang Xiu nodded and said that Chen Zhizhong is also my disciple, though his status is only an in-name disciple. His son, who is older than me, also insisted that he must address me as Grand Master. Chen Zhizhong is your disciple? Tang Han was surprised. Heavens! What exactly are the skills you have, brother? To think that you even got Chen Zhizhong to acknowledge you as his master? Don't tell me Grandpa hasn't told you about my identity as a cultivator? Asked Tang Xiu back with a smile. Tang Han stared blankly for a short while before shaking her head. Nope. Grandpa hasn't told me about that. Well, since Grandpa hasn't told you, then I'll tell you now. Tang Xiu chuckled and said, if you would like to cultivate, Big Sis, I can impart you with a cultivation technique that will give you formidable strength. I'll learn it. Blurted Tang Han without hesitation. Even though she lived in Mist Source Island all year round, she was also a member of the Tang family. She understood some of the rumors with the so-called cultivators, for example. They were existences the likes of celestial immortals, yet they really existed in this world. Though never did she imagine that her younger brother would turn out to be one of them. Since you're a cultivator, brother, can you fly like those in the legends? Tang Han asked with anticipation all over her face. When you reach a certain extent in your cultivation stage, you will naturally able to fly in the air. Though flying will need the help of some minor spells with the Qi control technique at the most basic foundation, said Tang Xiu with a smile. Alright, cease the inquiries for now. You will figure it out later when you become a cultivator and have formidable strength. Got it. Tang Han nodded with deep anticipation on her face. The next morning, Tang Xiu led Tang Han, Gu Xiaoxue, and dozens of members of Everlasting Feast Hall outside the village to quickly hike up the mist-shrouded mountain. Since Tang Xiu thoroughly understood the layout of the array covering the mountain, bringing all of them up it was quite easy. Oh my god! Is this a paradise? With a shocked expression, Tang Han's mouth turned O-shaped as she saw the scenery in the mountain. She saw towering trees that were larger than hundreds-of-year-old trees she had seen, along with abnormally sized animals that broke logic. Is that a rabbit, brother? Tang Han pointed at a bison-sized rabbit with disbelief.
Yeah,
That's really a rabbit. Tang Xiu smilingly replied, I guess it's been alive for at least several hundreds of years. I even guesstimate that it should be over a millennium. Well, you can also regard it as a demon rabbit. A demon rabbit? Tang Han shuddered and instantly stopped moving. Take it easy. Tang Xiu chuckled and said, I came to this mountain previously and found that these animals are very docile. They will not hurt you as long as you don't attack them. The revelation made Tang relax and exclaim, sigh. It never occurred to me that you'd be powerful to this extent, brother. You know, tons of people have been trying everything possible to enter this mountain, and yet it was all for naught. I never expected that I would be able to come here today. This will cause a huge sensation should the people outside learn about this. You must not tell anyone about you coming to this mountain, sis. Not even your trusted subordinates, said Tang Xiu hastily. This mountain can be called a treasure mountain, and since we are the only ones who can come here, this will be the possession of our Tang family. In case those outsiders found out about this, I fear that they will flock to this place and resort to all means to come here. Tang Han cautiously nodded, I got it. Don't have to worry about that. Tang Xiu then shifted his eyes to Gu Xiaoxue and the dozens of members of Everlasting Feast Hall, speaking in a heavy tone, don't try to climb higher. This mountain is very bizarre and scary. The higher you climb, the greater the pressure you will encounter. Forcing yourselves to climb higher will harm and even injure you. All right. Start moving and act now to take all the resources, but pay attention to your own safety. Our Everlasting Feast Hall needs these resources. Understood. Gu Xiaoxue and the rest nodded. The expropriation was done frenziedly as they took a massive number of efficacious medicinal herbs, spirit fruits, and precious ores and loaded them into 10 interspatial rings. It was Ji Qimei who recently manufactured these rings in the headquarters of Everlasting Feast Hall in Jingmen Island. Tang Xiu spent the whole morning in the mountains before leading the group of people to leave the site in a hurry. After leaving, he immediately called Divine Dr. Gui Jianshou. I know you are unable to hold your urge to call me, Tang Xiu. I will tell you good news. I have researched and developed the antidote after finding the right idea based off of the theory you had tested previously. I'm currently studying the data, but I also need to start the mass production of the antidote. It needs a massive number of medicinal herbs. I already told Yang Chuxiong and he has been busy working with the people from the army. Have you already done the experiment? Asked Tang Xiu. Also, can it completely treat the infectious disease? 30 infected patients have been fully treated and cured, replied Gue Jiaosan. It was a pleasant surprise for Tang Xiu. That's great. It's thanks to you, Divine Doctor. This darkening virus crisis wouldn't have been solved if it weren't for you. I have some important issues to deal with at the moment, but I'll hurry back to the military base after finishing everything. I'll treat you to a drink when I get there. God's nectar, replied Gui Jianshou with a smile. God's nectar it is. No problem, you can have it until you're full, happily replied Tang Xiu. Gui Jianshou's laughter was exceptionally crisp.